Hi there, I'm Elizabeth with Ellie's Handcrafted Jewelry, and welcome to my channel where I share tips, tricks, and tutorials for those looking to learn the art of wire wrapping and wire weaving. And today I'm going to be showing you how to create this ring. Right now I'm calling it the 4-leaf clover ring. I might come up with a name that you'll see in the title of this video. But I'm going to be showing you how to create the ring band, how to set the stone, and how to create all the pretty loops that create this statement piece. Now, just to note, there's a couple things that you can actually do to make this very unique and make it your own. The first thing is trying a different kind of weave for the ring band itself. In this one, I'm going to be showing a certain weave, but you can try something else like a modified sumac weave or maybe a triangle, zigzag weave, flame weave, whatever you want to do. You can try something different if you want to make it more unique into your style, and also considering comfort and time that it takes to make the piece. The other thing that you can do to personalize the stone is you can also use a square or round faceted stone. So I made this so that way it sets both kinds of stones. So if you have square cubic zirconia or faceted stones sitting around that you're not sure what to do with, this is a great project to do that with. But before we jump in, let's go ahead and give a huge thank you to Kazdance for sponsoring this video. It's hard to find quality stones out there or to know what you're getting from overseas sellers, but you don't have to worry about that with Kazdance. They are based in the US and have high quality, gorgeous looking stones that will make your pieces pop and wow anyone who lays their eyes on it. Plus, they have amazing faceted stones for this very project. From natural gemstones to glittery cubic zirconia in all shapes and sizes to fit your style and budget. Not to mention their amazing customer service. If you have any questions, they're quick to answer them and help you find the right piece for your project. So be sure to stop by their website and check out their amazing assortment of stones. Now let's jump into the tutorial. All right, first, tools and materials. What we're going to need are chain nose pliers or flat nose pliers. I have both. Round nose pliers can come in handy, but not quite necessary for this project. Flesh cutters. Of course, you're going to need a ring mandrel. You're also going to need a ruler and a Sharpie. And for materials, you're going to need 20 gauge square or round wire. You can do this with both. And for weaving, 28 gauge round wire. As for the stone, here I have about a 5mm. This is a square stone, just to show that you can do this with square. But if you only have round, you can certainly do that with round as well. Also, just to note, if you get calluses or you blister easy from weaving, I like these finger protectors. They're kind of like thimbles for your fingers, but they work really great and keep me from getting blisters and things. And I'll leave a link down below where I get all of my tools and materials, especially for this project. All right, so to get started, I'm going to need to figure out how much wire I'm going to need for my ring. In this case, I'm going to make it a size 7. So I'm taking a piece of scrap wire that I have here, and I'm just going to wrap it around the 7 mark. This is going to tell me how much wire I need. And screw that down a little bit. And I'm just going to trim it. Just so that I have an actual representation here of how much wire I'm going to need, or how much I'm going to need to weave for the band. And then I'm going to make sure to add a 1/4 of an inch or so, just to make sure there's plenty of space for this stone as well. So now that I know how long this is going to be, well, I'm going to measure it first. So it's 2 1/4, so it's right where I want it. That should be enough for the band and the setting. So probably about 2 1/2-ish. So 2 1/4 for weaving. So I'm going to add an additional 6 inches to that measurement. So I'm going to cut at, I'm just going to go ahead and make it 8 inches. And trim. And then we're going to cut 4 segments of 8-inch wire. Just make sure you straighten your wire out as you go. There's all my segments of wire. They are all cut. Still gonna need my ruler though, so I can mark out where I need to weave. So I know that I got 2 1/4 there that I need to weave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these flat on my ruler, and I'm going to mark at the center, which is at 4 inches. So there's my center. And I know I need 2 1/4, so that's 1 1/8 inches on either side of the halfway. So there's the inch, and then there's the 1/8 next to it. Do the same on the opposite side. So I know how much I need to weave. Now I don't have my clamp with me. Normally I would have my clamp. It's a very handy tool. You can use a ring clamp if you have it, but I'm going to show you a different method in case you don't have it. Making sure these are all lined up. So I'm just going to grab my wire. And with this particular weave, I'm going to be starting more in the center. So I'm going to grab, before looking at it, and see if I can lay this out so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to be starting at with the second wire in line, because this is where my weave is starting. So let's see. Grab my weaving wire. I'm going to stick my little finger protector on so I can protect my finger that I typically get blistered. And I'm just going to wrap the weaving wire around it 3 times to start. Like so. And then I'm going to grab the next wire, set it on top, making sure that my lines are all matching up like they're supposed to. Like so. And then I'm going to wrap the weaving wire around it 1 time, around both of them. Then bring the weaving wire in between that wire and around the top wire 1 time. And what I'm going to be doing is the modified sumac weave with just these 2 wires. Probably do wrap around at the bottom. I'll probably do that about 5 times, and then I'll incorporate the other wires. So I wrapped around 1 time at the bottom. I'm going to bring it up and around both wires again. Separate the wires a little bit. Bring it in between. And up and over top. Then down and around the bottom wire 1 time. So that's 2 rotations. So do it again. Up and over around both wires. Bringing that wire in between those 2 wires. Then up and over top of the top wire. Then down and around the bottom wire again. There's 3 rotations. So we'll do it again 1 more time. Well, 2 more times. So around both wires. In between, up over the top wire. Down around the bottom wire. There's 4, and 1 more time. Around both wires. In between those 2 wires. Then down and around the bottom wire 1 time. So now I have done the modified sumac weave a total of 5 times. Just gonna squish that wire down a little bit, and now I can start incorporating the other wires. So what I'm going to do that is grab the bottom wire next, making sure to line up all my marks, my Sharpie marks, so I know where I am. I'm going to bring this weaving wire, which is coming from the back, around the bottom wire 1 time, like so. We're almost going to do like a figure 8 weave. So this is going straight through to the back. I'm going to grab my next wire and place it on top, like so, and then up. Once I get my wires sorted. So I'm going to bring it up and over top the 2 top wires, like so. And then a figure 8 weave again. So coming from the back, down and around bottom both, or the bottom 2 wires. And then up and over around the top 2 wires. Now once we've done that, I'm going to squish these down a little bit. And I'm going to continue the modified sumac weave on the center 2 wires. So we're going to be doing another 5 rotations, and then we'll do the crisscross again, but I'll show you how to do it once we get to that spot. So we're coming from the back again. So the easiest way would probably be around both wires here at the center, then around the bottom one, and then around the top one. There's one rotation. This is where I like my flat nose pliers. They're a little bit better at scrunching the wire for me, because I can actually compress them better. All right, and then separate these wires a little bit more again. So bringing that around one time, around the bottom wire, one time, well, the bottom of the center 2, and then over that top center wire. And that is 2 rotations. And we're going to do that 3 more times, and then we're going to incorporate the others again. All right, so once I've completed my weave, now is the time to start, well, we're going to finish off the weave first. So I'm just going to wrap it around this bottom center wire here a couple more times, just to make sure that weave is secure, like so. We're not going to pull the weaving wire off just yet though. And I'm going to take these wires on the end and bend them out right here and right here. Get that one back, angled back in a little bit. Do the same on the opposite side. So it's going to look almost like an eye. Something like that. All right, just like that. And the nice thing about this weave is it is double-sided, so it doesn't matter which side sticks out. They will be the same on both sides. And now I'm going to take my ring mandrel and stick it in here around the 7 mark here. Bend it in. And adjust my wire as needed to make sure it's going to sit nicely together. Actually start at the top a little bit. So it should be coming together a lot like that. So I'm going to pull that out now. And you can hammer the ring band as well if you need to. But right now I'm just going to work on getting this over here so I can weave this together. So I'm just going to coil this wire over here to the side until it's about here. And if you need need to, you can actually bend this down a little bit. You're going to want it a little bit flat anyways, because that'll help the stone sit better. It's about there. Now I'm just going to do a modified sumac with all of these wires to pull them together. And the way I'm going to do that is to wrap the wire around this bottom wire, then up and over the 2 wires, then in between those 2 wires, up over the center 2 wires, then in between those 2 wires, up over the top 2 wires, and around the top wire 1 time. So it's going to hold it together, and I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure that it's holding nicely. I'm just going to make sure that this is sitting nice and flat. And we're just going to do that again. So bringing it down around the, the bottom wire. Then up around the bottom 2 wires. In between the 2 wires. Then up over the center 2 wires. And you might need to use your pliers to kind of help these weaves along a little bit. If you have plaited wire, just be careful of marking it. Then bring that wire up over the top 2 wires and around that 1 wire. Now I'm going to leave it right there. And to finish this off, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull out a tail piece, probably about 8 inches-ish long, and I'm going to coil it around this inner side here. So bringing it underneath, maybe. Of course, this side's still open, but otherwise you would bring it in between or in through the center there. And I'm just going to feed this wire through. And just coil that around. So if you had just the center open, you just feed it through like that. Pull out the bubble and wrap it around again. Now if this is too long for you, if you're getting impatient, you can just do it a few times. It's going to be hidden underneath the stone. But if you'd like to have nice finish work, you like to make things kind of even and it makes you feel good, then just coil all the way down to there. All right, so once I reach that spot, I'm just going to do a little pull and twist and pull off the excess wire. Like so, and it should be flush, so there shouldn't be anything poking out, so when you stick on the ring, it's not going to attack you. Now we got to do the other side, and what we're going to do is we're basically going to feed some more wire on here. So grabbing from my bobbin here. These are really handy. Find them on Amazon if you need any of those. And just pulling these apart just slightly. So I have the wire here, and actually I'm going to go this way because I want to go around in this direction. And I'm just going to wrap the weaving wire around this bottom wire 3 times to start the weave. Or as much as I need to get to that point as well. It just kind of depends on where it's at on your ring. So scoop mine down, go ahead and coil it a few more times. Like so. I'm just going to leave my tailpiece on there for a minute, but I'm just going to hold it out of the way. And then from there, we're going to do another modified sumac weave. So wrapping around the bottom wire at one time, up and over, 2 wires in between those 2 wires, then up and over the center 2, making sure they're kind of sitting next to each other nicely. Bring the wire in between and up and around the top wire. Like so. Do it again after scrunching your wire and adjusting. So around the bottom wire, around bottom 2 wires, then up in between, around the middle 2, in between those 2, up and over, and then around that 1 wire one last time. Very nice. At this point, I'm actually going to feed this wire through because you can see there's a little gap there. So feed the wire through. Kind of fill in that gap a little bit. I'm just going to do a little pull and twist on that tailpiece so it's no longer in my way. And then we're going to cut off another tailpiece about 6 to 8 inches and just coil it around like we did before. So bringing this up and we're going to coil it around that inner wire. Like so. So just finish doing that and then pull off your tailpiece, and then we can move on to setting the stone. All right, and here's how it should look so far. The band is now finished, and now it's time to set the stone. Now this is kind of the fun part. If you're working with square wire rather than round wire, you can actually twist the wire if you'd like to give it that really glittery effect. The only thing, a challenge with that is that if you do that, it is going to make the wire harder. So I'm just going to scoot this down, make sure it's even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these center 2 wires. These are going to be the ones that I use to set the stone with, and I'm going to twist the outer wires. And all you have to do is hold one end with your pliers and twist the ring band in the other hand. And you can twist it as much as you like to get whatever kind of pattern you'd like. So that's going to make it nice and glittery. And now we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Just making sure to grab the right wire. It's very difficult to untwist the wire once you've already twisted it. Like so. Just a couple more times. And doing the same thing on the opposite side. So just sticking it in my pliers and twisting. Then on the far side. Okay, so there's my twisted wire. If you have round wire and you want to add more texture, you can also coil the outer wires instead. So if you don't have square wire and you'd like to add more texture, you can do it that way. Or you can do it with the inner wires. It's totally up to you. All right, so now I'm going to stick my stone in there, and it sits very nicely. And I'm going to start directing these wires over. Now, square wire, you need to make sure that it is going the right direction, so I don't want this wire to be twisting over. So before I set the stone, I'm just going to bend these over, making sure the wire's not twisting too much. Then I'm going to curve these out just a little bit. And this can be adjusted in a minute, but I'm just kind of setting it up here for the stone setting. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, making sure it's not twisting too much. So using my pliers to try and gently keep those even. Something like that. And I'm going to adjust with my flat nose pliers. They're a little bit better. And I'm going to bend these straight down in as I can. As carefully as I can. I'm doing the same on the opposite side. So you can see I'm just compressing these down a little bit, so that way it's going to have better pressure on the stone once I set it in there. Move these out of the way a little bit. And of course I do want these to be somewhat even, so make sure it's not twisting too much. Bend it in. Start to pull these up a little bit so we can situate the stone. I'm going to grab my stone and I'm going to stick it in there. And this is where it's going to get a little fiddly, but we're just going to try and do our best to make sure the stone is coming into contact with the wire on all four sides. Try to even these out a little bit. So you can see it's coming in contact on all four sides. And if I did this, you don't hear a rattle and it's not falling out. So it's holding in place like it should at the moment. Now I'm going to take these outer wires here and I'm just going to follow along on the inside. And these are going to run alongside the square wire. Just take your time with this. It's not a race. And this twisted wire, like I said, is going to be a little firmer to work with. So this one is, you especially need to take your time with. Compress the wire as needed. sure that the stone's not going to pop out if I'm messing around with it too much. So now at this point I'm going to make sure that these square wires are fairly straight and that the twisted wire is running alongside it. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to do the cool tie part. Which is going to be what helps us make the statement. But before I do that, I'm just going to make sure that everything is sitting exactly where I want it. And that the wire is doing what I'm telling it to. You just want to make sure your stone is definitely in place before you start doing anything else. Which is looking pretty darn good to me. So here we are. Now at this point, I'm going to start twisting. Like so. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, but we're going to cross over. So making sure this wire is sitting where it needs to. And that they're coming, that they're working with each other, not against each other. And I'm going to bring them through like this. And the ideal would be to bring it over top of the ring band if you can, but it may not be possible. It might actually be easier to bring it down first. And we're just going to slowly but surely work our way like so. You can make these as big or as small as you like. I like it to be a statement ring, but I don't know if I want it to be overwhelming. So once I get to this point, I'm going to feed this back up through. And it's going to sit there for a minute while I work on the other side. And when this is coming over, you want to make sure that you're not going to cover the other side. So I'm just going to feed this underneath. Like so. If you need to, you can compress wires some more. Make sure that no stones are hopping out and everything. You can always give it a quick shake. If you hear rattling, then you know it needs to be adjusted, but we can also do final adjustments once we've got the tie all done. Now we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So starting on one side, you're going to pay attention to the opposite side a little bit. So if you're looking at it, you can see this one went over, so we're going to want this one to go over as well. Let me flip over. So this one's going to start going over as long as these wires line up like they're supposed to. They're kind of not sitting together just right. Because we want these wires to go alongside each other. And then this one is going to go up and over also. And as I'm looking at it, actually, I'm going to do it's the other way. So, round, round. So this one's actually going to go up through the top here. And if it's easier, you can also work with one wire at a time and just do your best to kind of help them back together. Whatever's easiest. And slowly working our way here. Now here you can see this is kind of a gap, and here I want to go, so I want to lift this up. Sorry, this is probably a little bit difficult to follow at this point. I have all these wires going all over the place. Oops. I didn't mean for that to bend that way. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to bring that underneath this wire. Oops. Down and down. And now finally this wire. Just take your time to adjust wires as needed. Like I said, not a race. Just want this to be a little bit more rounded. And this one's going to go over the top here. But only after I get this wire to sit next to this one. A little nicer. So that's looking pretty nice. At this point, I'm going to start trimming wires here. Because we're going to want to tuck them in, but they're going to come up over the top of the band as well, so that way they're not poking you when you're wearing the ring. So, giving them plenty of room to go over, but not so much. And if you need to trim them again, that's fine. This is just to mostly help them through the band. So I'm going to start with the ones that are closest to the stone. So like this one. So these actually can go, can actually be tucked in under the ring band, but up into the tie portion, which I'll show you here in a second. Use my chain nose pliers, kind of help with that. Might have to cut off a little more. That might be good. No, I'll need to cut off more. But you can see I'm tucking it up into that tied off portion. And actually, I might be able to do that here. Yes. So it's underneath this portion. Do the same thing with the other one. You can see I'm bending this up a little bit with my pliers, so twisting it gently, and then I'm going to tuck it up underneath. So it's nice tucked underneath there, and I don't have to worry about it scratching anybody. Okay, now I'm moving on to this one. And I need to fix the shape of this one a little bit first. So pull that back out. gonna bring it through. At least the one wire. Oops. And this one as well. And actually, this is gonna fit nicely underneath, oops, excuse me, on that side too. So I'm just going to, oops, make sure that they're sitting next to each other like they're supposed to. And I'm gonna trim this. Oh no. Yes, I'll have to trim it. And tuck them in. Alright, so I'm bending up this straight up underneath as well, like the other side. Doing the same with this last wire. If I can get it up under there. There we go. So those are off, and they're not going to be getting anybody. And then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So starting with the inner wires. So I'm going to move that up for a second. Just going to trim that off so we can tuck them up. Do one wire at a time. Go. And finally, the last one. Oops. I'll trim them up there. And at this point you can adjust wherever you need to. Make sure the stone is sitting. So shake it, rattle it around, and if it doesn't make any noise, then it's good to go. There is your finished ring. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and leave them in the comments section below as I try to get to them as quickly as I can. And don't forget to check out the new written tutorials that are coming available on my website, or sign up for the Artisan Tutorial Vault membership, which gives you access to all of the available tutorials. I've got some new ones coming your way and I'm really excited to share with them, so keep your eyes open for those. And until next time, happy weaving.